The wind howled louder than the creature outside my door. Blood. There's so much blood on my hands as I frantically type these words. My fingers are nearly frozen, but I need to record what's happening before it finds me again. The satellite phone is dead. The radio's been smashed. This laptop and its failing battery are my only connection to a world that seems impossibly distant now. 3 days ago, I was just a geological researcher named Thomas Keller, sent to study permafrost degradation at our remote Alaskan outpost. Now I'm the last one alive, hiding in a storage closet beneath 6 feet of ice and steel, listening to it scratch and prowl above me. It started with the howling. "That's not a wolf," Martinez said that first night, his breath forming clouds in our research station's common room, despite the heaters working overtime. Outside, the temperature had plummeted to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. "Too big, too human," he added, peering through the frosted window into the Arctic darkness. The howl came again, a sound that vibrated through my chest and sent primitive warning signals firing through my brain. We were 12 researchers stationed at Outpost Polaris, 100 miles from the nearest town, studying climate change effects on the Arctic permafrost. Our assignment? 3 months of winter isolation to gather data when the freeze was deepest. "Probably just wind distortion," I said, though I didn't believe it. Something about that sound felt ancient and hungry. If only I'd trusted that instinct. The first attack came at 2:17 a.m. I remember checking my watch when the screaming started. Jenkins, who'd gone out to check the meteorological equipment, never made it back. We found the ice outside painted crimson, with drag marks leading toward the mountains. His thermal suit was in shreds, and the snow was disturbed by tracks I couldn't identify. Too large for a wolf, with what looked like opposable thumbs. Dr. Chen suggested a bear, but I've tracked bear in Montana for 20 years. These weren't bear tracks. "We need to call for emergency evacuation," I insisted at our hastily assembled meeting. Wallace, the station chief, overruled me. "The storm's too severe. No aircraft can reach us for at least 5 days." "Then we arm ourselves and secure the facility," Martinez countered. The station had 2 rifles for emergency protection against polar bears. Wallace distributed them to Martinez and Lee, our most experienced shooters. The rest of us carried makeshift weapons: kitchen knives, fire axes, a flare gun. That night, huddled in the main building with the generators humming and lights blazing, we thought we were safe. We were wrong. It came through the roof of the East Wing laboratory. I was analyzing core samples when the ceiling collapsed in an explosion of insulation and metal. Through the swirling snow that poured in from the hole above, I glimpsed something massive dropping into the room, a shape both human and not. In the emergency lighting, I caught only impressions: matted fur covered in frost, shoulders too broad for any man, a muzzle filled with teeth that gleamed like ice picks. I ran. Behind me, Dr. Evans wasn't fast enough. His screams echoed through the hallway as I slammed and locked the door to the main building, where the others waited in terror. "What the fuck was that?" Wallace demanded, his face ashen. "I don't know." My voice sounded distant to my own ears. "But it's not natural." Over the next 48 hours, our world compressed into a nightmare of barricaded doors, dwindling supplies, and the constant sounds of something large circling our shelter. It would disappear for hours, then return, testing our defenses, growing more bold each time. Martinez called it a werewolf, half joking through his fear. Dr. Chen laughed nervously and cited the documented cases of rabies and other diseases that could drive large predators to unusual aggression. Lee suggested an undocumented bear species adapted to the extreme Arctic environment, but none of them had seen it clearly. I had. When it took Wallace, it was because the station chief had insisted on trying to reach the communication building 50 yards away. "We can't just sit here waiting to die," he'd said, wrapping himself in Arctic gear and checking the flare gun. I watched through the window as he made it halfway across the compound. The snow was coming down in sheets, reducing visibility to a few yards. One moment Wallace was there, a dark shape against the white ground. The next, a larger shadow detached itself from the building's edge and moved with impossible speed. Wallace didn't even have time to fire the flare. The creature caught him from behind, and the snow turned red beneath them. Worse than the sight was the sound. Wallace's screams mixed with wet, tearing noises and something else. A deep, rumbling growl that sounded almost like laughter. It wasn't hunting just for food. It was playing with us. By the third day, only 5 of us remained, barricaded in the mess hall. The power had failed in most of the station after something damaged the main generator. We had emergency lighting, dwindling heat, and the horrifying knowledge that our refuge was becoming our tomb. The old Inuit man in Coldfoot tried to warn us, Lee said quietly as we huddled around a portable heater. Remember when we stopped for supplies? He told us this area was forbidden ground. Superstition, Dr. Chen replied, but her voice lacked conviction. He mentioned the Amarok, Martinez added. I looked it up. It's a gigantic wolf in Inuit mythology that hunts alone and preys on anyone foolish enough to venture out at night. This is a real animal, I insisted. Flesh and blood. It can be killed. Lee gestured to the rifle in his hands. I hit it twice last night. It didn't even slow down. That's when the lights went out completely. The creature attacked with perfect timing, as if it had been waiting for darkness. The barricaded door to the mess hall held for perhaps 10 seconds before it gave way in an explosion of metal and wood. Emergency lights cast an eerie red glow over the room, transforming the scene into something from a slaughterhouse. It was fully visible now, rearing nearly 8 feet tall on its hind legs. The werewolf, because that's what my brain insisted it was despite all logic, had matted gray-white fur caked with blood and frost. Its face was a grotesque hybrid of human and wolf, with intelligent eyes that reflected the red emergency lights like burning coals. Most disturbing were its hands, elongated human fingers ending in razor-sharp claws that seemed designed for both precision and rending flesh. Lee fired, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. The creature jerked as the bullet hit its shoulder but didn't fall. Instead, it smiled, revealing rows of jagged teeth. Run! I screamed, grabbing Dr. Chen's arm and pulling her toward the kitchen's rear exit. Martinez and Gomez were ahead of us. Lee stood his ground, firing again and again until the gun clicked empty. The sounds behind us as we fled will haunt me forever. We split up in the dark corridors, a mistake born of panic. I found myself alone, racing through the freezing hallways of a research station that had become a labyrinth of death. Somehow I ended up in the storage basement, where I dragged heavy equipment in front of the door and collapsed behind it, my lungs burning from exertion in the increasingly frigid air. Hours passed. Occasionally I heard distant screams that gradually became fewer and farther between. The creature was hunting the others one by one. Now it's just me. My watch says it's been 26 hours since I locked myself in here. The battery on my laptop is at 14%. Outside my makeshift fortress, I can hear it sniffing, scratching, testing the door. It knows I'm here. It's in no hurry. I've had time to think about what this thing is, where it came from. 2 weeks ago, our drilling team extracted an unusual ice core from nearly 40 meters down. Inside was something organic, preserved in the permafrost. Probably just ancient plant material, Dr. Chen had said, but the carbon dating came back wrong, impossibly old. The sample disappeared from the lab the next day. Wallace reported it as misplaced. Now I wonder, did we release something that had been imprisoned in the ice for millennia? Something that had been deliberately buried? The scratching has stopped. For a moment, I think it's given up. Then I hear it, a voice, human but not quite. Thomas, it calls in a gravelly approximation of Wallace's voice. Help me, Thomas. I'm hurt. I press my hands over my ears, but it continues. Open the door, Thomas. We need to evacuate. The helicopter is here. It knows my name. It's learned to mimic human speech. The handle of the storage room door begins to turn, the metal groaning as superhuman strength is applied. My barricade shifts slightly. I'm out of time. If anyone finds this, if this account somehow makes it back to civilization, do not send a rescue team. Bomb this place. Burn it to the ground. And whatever you do, don't let it out into the... I didn't finish that last entry 3 days ago because the creature nearly got through the door. In desperation, I found another way out, a maintenance tunnel that led to the station's lowest level, a sub-basement where core ice samples were stored at carefully controlled temperatures. The irony isn't lost on me. I'm now in the coldest part of the station, slowly freezing to death, but at least temporarily safe from the monster above. The massive freezer doors are designed to be airtight and secure. Even something with that creature's strength would struggle to break through. The laptop died, but I found this tablet in one of the research lockers. Its battery won't last long in these temperatures, but I need to continue documenting what's happening. It's the only thing keeping me sane. I've been surviving on energy bars stored down here for the researchers who worked long shifts. The water pipes are frozen, so I've been melting ice samples in my mouth, trying not to think about the precious scientific data I'm destroying. Funny what seems important when you're facing death. Last night, at least I think it was night, time has become fluid down here. I heard the creature in the corridors above, howling in frustration. It knows I'm below but hasn't figured out exactly where or how to reach me yet. In the sample storage refrigerators, I found Dr. Chen's notes on that ancient organic material we discovered. Reading them has convinced me that what's hunting us isn't some unknown animal species. The cellular structure was unlike anything in our taxonomic databases, similar to mammalian DNA but with unexplainable anomalies. Chen wrote, "Sample appears to contain viable cells despite extreme age. Regenerative properties unprecedented. Cellular response to thawing shows remarkable reanimation potential. We didn't just find something preserved in the ice. We found something that was alive in the ice, waiting, and now I hear it again. Closer this time. The howling has changed to a methodical thumping. It's testing the walls and floors, looking for weaknesses, a way down to me. I'm not going to die hiding in a freezer. There's an emergency exit that leads to the surface, designed as a safety measure in case researchers got trapped down here. It hasn't been used in years and likely opens into a snowdrift, but it's my only option. The tablet's battery is at 9%. I'll write more if I make it outside. I've made a terrible mistake. The emergency exit led to the surface as I'd hoped, but I emerged into a landscape transformed by the week-long blizzard. The research station is barely visible, half buried in snowdrifts 20 feet high. The cold hit me like a physical blow. It must be minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit with the wind chill. Without proper Arctic gear, I have perhaps 15 minutes before hypothermia sets in. Worse, I'm not alone out here. It was waiting as if it knew this was my only escape route. I saw it silhouetted against the aurora borealis that painted the night sky in sheets of green and blue. Beautiful cosmic radiation illuminating a nightmare. I ran blindly through the snow, my lungs burning with each breath of air so cold it felt like inhaling glass shards. The creature followed at a leisurely pace, confident in its ability to run me down whenever it chose. My only advantage was my knowledge of the station's layout. Even half buried, I recognized the shapes of outlying buildings. I made it to Storage Bunker B, a reinforced structure set apart from the main complex where we kept volatile chemicals and fuel. Now I'm barricaded inside, surrounded by enough accelerants to create a significant explosion. The creature is circling outside, occasionally testing the metal door, which groans under its strength but has held so far. I've made peace with what I have to do. There's a flare gun in the emergency kit on the wall. When it breaks through that door, I'll trigger every canister in here. It may not kill the creature, but it will certainly destroy any samples, any trace of whatever genetic material we accidentally released from the ice. The scratching at the door has stopped. Instead, I hear something worse, mechanical sounds. Metal on metal. It's using tools trying to dismantle the door's hinges. It's intelligent, far more than any animal should be. The tablet battery is failing in the extreme cold. 3% remaining. If this is my last entry, know that I tried. Tell my sister in Anchorage that it's over, or maybe it's just beginning. The tablet died as the creature was breaking through. In desperation, I tried to detonate the fuel canisters, but my fingers were too numb from cold to operate the flare gun properly. The creature burst in, and I was face to face with it at last. What happened next defies everything I understand about nature, about reality itself. It spoke, not in mimicked human voices as before, but in perfect, articulate English. "You've led me on quite a chase, Thomas," it said, my name rolling off its inhuman tongue with terrible familiarity. The others weren't nearly as resourceful. I was paralyzed with fear and cold, the flare gun useless in my frozen hand. The creature approached on two legs, its movements a disturbing hybrid of lupine grace and human precision. "What are you?" I managed to ask. It tilted its head, regarding me with eyes that glowed amber in the darkness. "I am old, older than your civilization. My kind ruled these lands when humans were still cowering in caves." "Werewolf," I whispered, the word escaping before I could stop it. It made a sound that might have been laughter. "Your folklore has many names for us. Amarok, Skinwalker, Werewolf, imperfect descriptions of something your kind has forgotten how to understand. Why kill us? We didn't threaten you." "You woke me," it snarled, suddenly angry. "Thousands of years imprisoned in the ice by the shamans of the people who came before? They understood the threat we posed. They sacrificed everything to contain us." "Us?" The word sent a chill through me deeper than the Arctic cold. Its muzzle formed something like a smile. "You think I'm alone? Your people have been warming this world, melting the ancient ice. Do you know what sleeps beneath your feet, Thomas? What you're freeing with your drills and your emissions?" It stepped closer, and I caught the coppery scent of blood on its breath. "But I should thank you," it continued. "Once I've finished with you and replenished my strength, I'll make my way south. Your cities are filled with prey who've forgotten how to fear the dark." I realized then that I couldn't let this creature leave the Arctic, whatever the cost. With my remaining strength, I lunged for the nearest fuel canister, smashing its valve against the concrete floor. The room immediately filled with the acrid smell of accelerant. The creature's eyes widened with something like respect. "Brave but futile. The cold doesn't harm me. Fire won't stop me for long." "It doesn't need to stop you for long," I said, raising the flare gun with fingers that had suddenly found their strength. "Just long enough," I fired. The world became heat and light. The explosion catapulted me against the far wall as flames engulfed the room and the creature. Its howl of rage and pain was cut short as the secondary explosions began. Fuel tanks, chemical containers, all detonating in a chain reaction. Through the flames, I saw its burning form stumble toward me, fur and flesh melting away to reveal something beneath that was neither animal nor human. Then the ceiling collapsed between us as the building structure gave way. I should be dead. By all rights, I should have perished in that inferno. Instead, I woke half buried in snow, where the blast had thrown me clear of the worst destruction. The entire storage bunker had collapsed in on itself, burning despite the snow and wind. Of the creature, there was no sign. I've been walking for hours, following the coordinates south toward where the nearest town should be. It's a 100-mile journey through Arctic wilderness, and I have no supplies, no proper gear. Logically, I can't survive. But after what I've witnessed, logic seems a fragile thing. The tablet survives somehow, though its screen is cracked and the battery icon flashes a critical warning. I'm recording this final entry as I walk. The temperature has risen slightly with the approach of dawn, giving me perhaps a slim chance of survival if I keep moving. But I can't stop thinking about the creature's words. "Do you know what sleeps beneath your feet?" As the sky lightens on the horizon, I see something that makes my blood freeze. Tracks in the snow ahead of me. Large tracks that are neither fully animal nor human, leading south. Fresh. And beside them, burned into the snow like a brand, a single drop of black ichor that sizzles and melts through the frozen ground. It survived, and it's heading toward civilization.